the valley of the shadow of death, meaning that he walked through, in my opinion, the valley of calamity. I mean, if we make the application, here it is, the valley of treason. He walked through many dark, dismal valleys, to be honest with you. Absalom attacked his own father. Treason is involved, and we have King Saul. And David walked through many valleys of calamity, distress, treason, ambush, attack and ambush by King Saul, so forth and so on. That's what it represents. Turn to Psalm 107. Psalm 107. I'm going somewhere, and so follow along. Listen well this morning. Psalm 107, and here it is again. Psalm 107, while you're turning there, centers on Israel's return to Jerusalem. Their return to Jerusalem from Babylon, Babylonian captivity. Jerusalem was sieged. They were led away as captives. They were imprisoned, indoctrinated, and isolated from worship for 70 years, right? And that period of time is referred to in this text as the shadow of death. Look at it, please. Psalm 107, oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good. His mercy endureth forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, when he hath redeemed them from the hand of the enemy, and gathered them out of the lands, from the east, from the west, from the north, from the south. They wandered in the wilderness in a solitary way. They found no city to dwell in. Hungry and thirsty, their soul fainted in them. They cried unto the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them out of their distresses, and he led them forth by the right way, that they might go to a city of habitation. Oh, that men would praise the Lord for his goodness, for his wonderful works to the children of men, for he satisfied the longing soul, filleth the hungry soul with goodness, such as sit in darkness, in the shadow of death, being bound in affliction and iron. And I'm not going to read anymore. I plan to read down to verse 16. You get the idea. Enemy invasion, Isaiah chapter 9, under attack, under distress, affliction, heartache, sunshine, blue skies, restoration and righteousness, all of that. That's the picture, the valley. The valley, in contrast, however, appears to be dark, dismal. There's no sun, only shadow. There's no rest, only distress. And David walked through, like you and I have at times, a valley. And life is not always mountaintop, is it? Life is not always, Psalm 23, 2 and 3, it's not always peaceful green meadows. It's not always peaceful. No, it's not. There are seasons of repose. I'm going somewhere here. And there are seasons of distress. We enjoy some seasons. Listen carefully, every word. We enjoy some seasons are endured. Life is made up of seasons. There are seasons of jubilation, and there are seasons of tribulation. There are seasons of tears, there are seasons of joy. There are seasons of green meadows, rest, restoration. He restoreth my soul. Rest, restoration, paths of righteousness. But then again, there are seasons that are dark and dismal. Shadow of death, life-threatening. That doesn't sound like green meadows, does it? Yeah, there are some seasons. How many understand what I'm talking about? Life Listen, the calendar year is made up of 4 seasons. Am I right or wrong? Well, yeah, mud. That's, yeah, New Englander there. Spring is associated with life. The trees bloom, the flowers bud. That's green meadows. The meadows in Psalm 23, that's the tender grass. That's growing grass, immature grass, fresh grass, new grass, life. Winter is death, the shadow of death. Everything dies, does it not? Or, we use the word dormant. And trust me, things go dormant in New England starting right now when you get home, right? And we're in that, right? Interesting. Yeah, springtime is life. Everything comes back to life. Everything turns green and life. But winter season is we identify winter as, death. And like the seasons of weather, life is that way. Life in general is divided up into seasons. The seasons of different seasons representing different things. There was a season of repose in verses 2 and 3 and rest. But verse 4 is a season of distress. Distress. How many of you can relate to distress? Right? I mean, sunshine and blue skies in verses 2 and 3. In verse 4, it's dark and dismal and cold. Life-threatening circumstances. Life is made up of seasons. But I want you to know this morning, as a reminder, I've said it for 2 Sundays in a row now, and God is with us in the valley like He was with us in the meadow. And our shepherd is not without rod and staff. It's there. It's present in this dark, dismal valley. He is there with rod and staff like it was all present in the meadow. And if we're not careful, we'll act like God is not there in the valley. He's there. He's there. And listen, the way we lived in the meadow, we need to live in like manner in the valley, trusting God, courage, confidence, trusting God, relying upon His rod and staff in that valley like we did when we walked in the meadow. Our faith should never waver. It should be as strong in the valley as anywhere else. As a little side note for you. David walked through a valley that, where death cast her shadow. And in that place, David said, I will fear no evil. I will not be alarmed. My shepherd is there to guide and protect me. By the way, evil refers to that which the valley of the shadow of death represents. The evil is the calamity. It's the distress, injury, imminent danger, or death. It's describing the valley. Green meadows, including dark valleys, listen to me carefully, are seasons that God appoints. And there's nothing you can do about it. The sheep lie down in the green meadows. They are now walking through. You can't avoid it. They can't be avoided. They are now walking through. Am I right or wrong? They're not going around it. You can't avoid it. It's a season of life that was appointed by the Lord. It's there, and we must walk through it like the children of Israel walked through the Red Sea on dry ground. You got to walk through it. It's there. You can't avoid it. You can't run from it. You can't hide from reality. It's there, and you and I have to deal with it. This country, the world, is walking through a valley as we speak. You can't ignore it. It's there. It's a reality. And we are to be just as strong in that valley as we were in the meadow. I mean, what's the alternative? Ignore, deny, get angry? No, the only alternative is to rely upon the presence of God and His rod and staff like we did in the meadow. We move forward. We walk through it. There are days of calm, there are days of calamity. There are seasons of calm, there are seasons of calamity. There are seasons of rest, there are seasons of distress. Job said this, and I'm not going to read the entire chapter or even the portion that I've laid out in my notes. Listen, he said to his wife when she said to him, "Curse God and die." By the way, listen, that's what not to do. Are you listening this morning? And Job said this to her, "Shall we receive good?" That's a season of calm and repose. That's the green meadows. Shall we receive good at the hand of God? And shall we not receive evil? That's calamity. We enjoyed together a season of good, but we are now enduring. We enjoyed good. We are now enduring a season of evil, calamity, distress, the loss of our children. We will no more renounce God here in our valley, no more than we did when God was good to us over here. We will be as faithful to God in our calamity, in our evil, in this season of life. We will be good to God like we were good to God over here when He was good to us. You know, that's the language of humanity. It doesn't make any never mind to me what season I am in. God is always good. Just thought I'd throw that in there. Job just reminded his wife that we have made a transition into a different season of life. Evil means calamity. It means distress. It means loss. It means heartache. It's sorrow. In all this, did not Job sin with his lips? I'll say it until my last breath. That Job was a man. I mean, he was not a perfect man, but he understood seasons. He understood. He had character. He didn't blame God, get angry at God. You know, what did he do, Pat? He walked through this valley hanging on to God. That's what he did. He says in chapter 23, "I will esteem the words of His mouth more than my necessary food. I will not decline from His way, His steps, and I'll make His word my necessary food." What are you trying to say? I'm saying that Job walked through by faith in this valley of distress. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What's the alternative? Get angry at the world, get angry at God, quit, curse God and die? There is no alternative for the believer. We walk by faith, trusting His rod, His staff in that valley like we did over here in the meadow. Turn to Ecclesiastes chapter 3. By the way, this message is for me. I need this. Amen. I need it. We all need it. It's a loving reminder. I want you to turn to Ecclesiastes chapter 3. Psalms, Proverbs. Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes 3. Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1. To everything there is a what? I love this teaching. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up that which is planted. Watch this now. A time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, time to build up. Look at verse 4. Time to weep. A season of weeping. An appointed time. An appointed time to weep. But thank God, there are seasons of laughter. There are seasons of weeping, a time to mourn. Dance is jubilation. You see the contrast going back and forth? You know, God appoints the seasons that you go through. There are seasons of mourning and weeping and heartache and sorrow. But thank God there's relief, because God gives us seasons of laughter and jubilation and joy and rejoicing. That's the language here in this chapter. Look at verse 11. He hath made everything beautiful in his time. Every season, from God's perspective, is necessary, beautiful. It has purpose. It has purpose. Don't ignore it. There's a reason for it. God knows what you need. We don't get what God did to Job, but Job understood that his valley had purpose. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said what he did in chapter 23, verse 10. Who knows what that is? When he hath tried me. Even valleys have purpose. God uses every season to refine you. Getting ahead of myself here, because I don't want to lose you. Refinement, maturity. There's a lesson to learn. And sometimes it takes a dark, dismal, and cold valley to get our attention. It goes back and forth. A time to weep, and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, time to dance. Thank God for that. But every season is beautiful, because every season's appointed by the Lord. I know you and I, we don't ask for it. I'm not requesting in my prayer for a dismal season of time, but God appoints it. And sometimes we don't get it, we don't understand it. Job in chapter 3, he could not see God. He did not understand God. He couldn't figure it out. But he was determined to hang on because he knew that God was at work. The word season refers to a set time, an appointed time, or a fitting time. In a fitting time.